But one of the debates that comes up with this is the problem of the roof. This is a big debate that's been going on between me, JJ, many other people, archaeologists. They claim there are roofs built over the sites of Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. There is literally zero evidence for any roofs on the main enclosures at any of these sites. And so we challenge it, and they've put it out there as fact, these archaeologists, because they don't like the fact we keep finding these astronomical alignments that they didn't discover. And so it gets a bit, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because I think there's an issue here and it needs to be addressed soon, because they're building a new roof for tourists over it now, and that could block the alignment forever. So we're going to show you we're going to set up a campaign actually, and actually going to do something about that. But I wanted to test this hypothesis. If there was a roof on Karahan Tepe, even though I don't believe there was, how would it work? Would the solstice still work? Now, we got a lot of stick for this, even from our colleagues in the alternative history field. So we worked with a guy called Kevin Esslinger, and he's a brilliant graphic 3D artist, and he recreated the entirety of Karahan Tepe, plus he put the sky in from 9,400 BC, based on our research on stellarium, and was able to determine that the alignment works when the two T-pillars are upright in the center. It also works if you have a wooden frame. It rises between two outer pillars and the central T-pillars and still goes through the hole and hits the head. And you can see that here. And then he put a thatch roof over it based on Pawnee Native American design. And even with basic openings, which they must have had, just one opening of that size perfectly encapsulates the winter solstice sun going through the structure, through the porthole stone, illuminating the stone head. And we were debating this, especially with Matt Simpson, that you might know, Ancient Architects channel. He's a friend of ours, but we debate a lot of things. And he was working with Kevin as well, because he really believes in the roof hypothesis. We don't. But after he saw all the work by myself and Kevin Esslinger, he said this. And this really made me happy, because he's quite an influential guy, and he kind of now comes around to our winter solstice, discovery. And he said, basically, he sent me some screenshots of the most recent solstice alignments with your adjustments and the Karahan face, and wow. The wooden posts added to the structure don't obstruct it, so it means there could be a compromise. The roof of the enclosure could be more like a football stadium, with the perimeter benches covered, but the middle section open to the elements. This would allow for your solstice alignment and would give a structural explanation for the pillars. So we were quite pleased about that, but there's no evidence either of the pillars being load-bearing. We've had engineers, structural engineers come to the sites, and they say they cannot be load-bearing, they would just topple over. So that doesn't make sense. So if you're interested in that, I've written an extensive article. It's uploaded on academia.org and scrib.com. It's going to be in mine and JJ's forthcoming book as well. So you can we go fully into the details, the full reconstruction. There's also an extended video with video graphics of the 3D reconstruction on our YouTube channel. Furthermore, another interesting anomaly turned up with the work of Howard Crowhurst. He's a very good friend of mine. He lives in Brittany, France, studies the Karnak megaliths, and he's very interested in angles and geometries. Now, we saw the angle and the geometry linked with the solstice and the moon movements at Stonehenge, and he found at the exact point of sunrise, before the head gets illuminated, because it has to come up over a slight hill, but at the exact point of sunrise at that time, 9,400 BC, the alignment would be 1.618 to 1 square, which is 31.72 degrees. So basically, the winter solstice sunrise point marks the golden rectangle on the landscape of Karahan Tepe, which is absolutely fascinating to me, because they were working with angles, basic geometries, and solar movements very accurately, and we'll see more examples of this as we go through this talk. But even the face, that's what it looks like through the porthole stone. So you can see the sort of very small area this slither of light has to get through to hit the stone head. And even the open mouth fascinates me. There's been research on this by other people, JJ as well, that they believe that it's really to do with speaking to the gods or communing with the gods. And the sun, to these people, I believe, was seen as the ultimate god. And so when the sunrise comes through there, that only that time of year, no other time of year, and hits the face and the mouth, this is when the communion between the gods and the people happen. There's also suggestions of a luni-solar calendar there, and this is the work of Martin Sweatman. He spoke here at the very first Cosmic Summit, and he's spoken at our conference in England, at Megalithomania, a couple of times, and he published this, I think, last year, and he did some analysis of not only Göbekli Tepe Pillar 43, which we'll have a quick look at later, JJ talked about it earlier as well, but also Karahan Tepe itself and the pillar shrine where the head and the pillars exist. Fundamentally, I won't go into detail here, but he basically counted the different elements of the sites and worked out that they were studying the movements of the solar year accurately, just by these basic numbers. And he believed that the head, perhaps, or the freestanding pillar is another theory, that it marked the summer solstice, but we believe it marks the winter solstice, and that would have triggered his calendar to begin each year. So this is a basic luni-solar calendar. Other ones have been found at Stonehenge. There's one at Göbekli Tepe we'll look at soon as well. Also, we did some analysis with archaeoastronomer Rodney Hale and Andrew Collins of where the moon would appear on the summer solstice at Karahan Tepe, because